Good evening, folks, and welcome to Lockdown Conversations 2021. And it's hard to believe we are on episode 12. It's lovely to have you all with us again on this Thursday evening for our drama fix. And I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all staying safe. And anyone that's available to get the vaccines are getting them out there till we try and go back to some sort of normal. You know the usual story, folks. We word in the comments where you're from, what festival you're from, what group you're from, if you're with the DLI or the ADCI, or just if you're a normal onlooker looking in, just tell us what part of the country you're from, and we'll give you a little light there when we get around to it later on. Okay, folks, as usual, just to let you know, any of the stuff that you've missed, all the episodes we've done, I think this is 18 we've done in total. They're all on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. It's Amateur Drama Council of Ireland, and they're up on YouTube, and you can go up there and look back on any of the ones that you've missed out. Okay, right, folks, without further ado, it's my great pleasure to welcome, all the way from Dalkey, County Dublin, award-winning director, Emma-Jane Nulty. Emma-Jane, you're very welcome to the conversations.
Thanks, Paddy. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's lovely to have you. I suppose, Emma-Jane, I'll start the way I start with all our guests on the Lockdown Conversations. How did amateur drama find Emma-Jane, or how did Emma-Jane find amateur drama?
A long time ago. I think I was about 4 or 5 and in school, and I had a lovely English teacher, Jennifer Wills, and she was big into musicals, and I have a memory of playing Templeton the Rat from Charlotte's Web, and I made my own nose out of a toilet roll, as you do. So I suppose just in school I wasn't terribly academic, so if I had a choice between doing history or geography or learning lines, I was learning lines, do you know? But I was, as a child, I was lucky. My mum was friends with somebody called Anne Davis, who was involved in the pantos in the Gaiety with Maureen Potter. Yeah. So as a child, you know, I don't actually remember going to see the pantos, but I have really strong memories of going backstage and seeing this kind of world that was behind the stage. And I remember, you know, so many people and, you know, little Warren kind of corridors and red carpet. And I remember even at quite a young age, kind of making the connection that there was something amazing that was happening backstage that was helping what was happening on the stage, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so that's how I started off. And my sort of proudest moment, I suppose, in school was playing Captain Von Trapp in The Sound of Music. I was tall, a lot thinner, and all girls school, so I got to play the men.
Great, yeah. Great. So you had the bug for stage from
a very early age. Yeah.
Okay, you're involved in the fabulous Dalkey players who've been on the scene a long time. A lot of people on here who's years older than me and you would remember Dalkey being on the circuit for a long time. Could you give us a wee bit of history about Dalkey players and the
Yeah. So I suppose it's obviously set, and the group is from Dalkey in Dublin. Originally set up in 1976. And it's a really diverse group. I mean, Margaret Dunn would have very much been the kind of the person who headed up Dalkey for the circuit when I would have joined. Mm-hmm. And we were like a lot of groups. We meet a couple of times a week. We rehearse in the local school. We do plays in the town hall. We do the one acts. We do we've got a really active writing group. And we do the circuit. So we also do quite a lot of workshops and try and get people into the group as much as possible as well. So I'm very lucky, I suppose. I was in a different drama group first when I left school, and ended up in Dalkey in 97. Okay. And we went out on the circuit with translations in 98, and sure, that was it. I was well and truly hit by the bug, and very lucky, I suppose, you know, people that I joined with at the time, we've all stayed involved and lifelong friends, and you know, we've all hit milestones at the same time, and just very rich in that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic. So when you became a member of DACI, were you acting, or were you backstage, or were you?
No, I was acting. That's what I love to do.
Okay.
I would have done the one act circuit a bit with Jared Burke as well. We did a play in 2000, Close to Croydon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we were runners up in the Dunham Mace.
Yeah.
And that was a really interesting experience, because I just remember this wall of people as you're on the floor, and it was so exciting to get to the finals. And I came down with an awful dose that day, and I had taken what you do, you know, anything to kind of keep it at bay.
Yeah.
And I remember being really disappointed that, you know, I couldn't believe that this was happening the day of the finals. But anyway, myself and a guy called Andrew Lummis were doing a two-hander with Alan Newsom and Ruth Starr off stage. And I had to get up at one stage to do a monologue. And I remember thinking, uh-oh, I'm going to faint. And I was thinking, like, this is all going in my head while I was doing the lines. And you know, that kind of black blanket that comes over and the buzzing. Anyway, I got it back together. But when they were giving out the adjudications, Scott Marshall was adjudicating. And he said that there was a bit of a dip. That was the dip. So I learned quite a tough lesson, really, I suppose. Even just taking your eye off the ball for a second, and it made the difference, you know.
Yeah. Scott never missed too much when he was.
Didn't miss a beat. Yeah.
He was always on the ball, but a thorough gentleman, and I hope he's doing well if he's watching in there tonight. So there was loads of activity going on in DACI. So and then when you're acting, when did you decide to become director?
So I fell into it, Paddy. Margaret was, I suppose, stepping away. Her career was taking her in a different path, and we needed to get more directors involved in the group. And I was chair at the time. So we just came up with an idea of kind of doing what we call directors options. You could do a bit of anything. You could act, you could write, you could direct. And it was an in-house, really supportive place to do it. And because I said, we should try this, I thought I better do it as well. And I found I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I'm sure I drove my cast completely mad, because I did a very short piece. It had 2 lines, me too, and I will. And we ended up doing all sorts of wonderful tangos and mad things in it. And actually Maura Lavelle and Dermot Byrne were in that, and then they ended up being in Deadmans, you know, so long time together doing stuff with a lot of people. So we went out in the circuit then, that we did that in the June, and we went out in the circuit then, the one act circuit that autumn, with Carol Churchill's 3 More Sleepless Nights.
Oh yeah. So even back then, the creative end of you as director was mad buzzing then, and
I tell you, that the poor people in that cast. I was taking it so seriously, and I had a notebook, I remember, and I'd written down all the blocking.
Yeah.
And we were about 2 weeks into rehearsal, and it wasn't working. It was dreadful. It was like pulling teeth. And I remember turning up to rehearsal and saying, look, I'm really sorry, can we start again? And I think we only had about 3 weeks before we were going out.
Yeah.
And in those days, we rehearsed beside the town hall in the lovely heritage centre that's there. And there's a stairwell that's glass, got a glass wall. And fair play to them, they came with me, and we went and stood on the stairs, and I got them to look at their reflection in the glass. And I said, okay, so imagine that's the ceiling and you're in the bed. And I said, now let's make the ceiling the audience. So we kind of went from here to here. So the audience were looking in on them standing up in the bed. So that definitely made it more engaging, I think, because otherwise it wasn't working. So I suppose I learned that you have to let it be certainly a certain bit organic as well, and work with what you've got, rather than having this preconceived idea, you know, let it be a little bit organic as well.
So then that year, that was your first year out on the circuit as a director, and I'm sure you picked up loads from that.
Oh, it was brilliant. I mean, what a way to learn, you know, if you're starting off directing. I mean, you're learning from you're getting critiqued, your work is getting critiqued, and you're under pressure, and you're seeing the groups and you're seeing their work. I mean, it's an amazing arena to develop, and just really, I suppose, we didn't know what had hit us, because, you know, I had acted on the one act circuit, but directing on the one act circuit was a slightly different thing. Yeah. And also then just the hospitality and the welcome that you get is, I mean, the three acts, the one acts, you know, it's incredible, the energy that's out there.
Yeah.
From the festivals and how they welcome you, but it's a massive learning. I think that's the thing I would definitely take from it.
Yeah, it is indeed. So that was your first production on the circuit in the one act, and then you directed another few after that.
Yeah. So we got to the finals with Three More Sleepless Nights, and then we went out with Michael West's Player on Two Chairs.
Yeah. And
we were second with that, and I got to direct my husband, which was fun. I suppose I've been very lucky. Barry Donaldson, who you know well, he won the All Ireland there with Never Swim Alone, and Jerry was in that, and I was ASM on that. Okay. So like we'd had a good bit of experience at that time of the excitement of getting to the finals. Yeah. And then we were runners up again, always second, with Spectre, Don Negro. Yeah. And that was two people in a car, and you didn't quite know who was going to kill who, or were they not, or
great play too.
Yeah.
And then you decided, when did you decide then? You always done three acts, I'd imagine, at home.
Yeah.
And you decided then to bring the three act on the circuit.
Yeah, so I suppose we run full lengths twice a year. Mm-hmm. We'd kind of have a spring production and an autumn production. So this was 2009, I think. We went out with Les Liaisons Dangereux, and we just narrowly missed getting to Athlone. I think we came in 10th. Mm-hmm. But the circuit then was very different to what it is now. Hopefully it wasn't the play or us, but you were playing to much smaller audiences. I mean, I remember playing to maybe 20 people, and it was tough. It was tough going. But then I suppose there was just things happening at home. We kind of stood away from the circuit for a couple of years and concentrated on doing the work at home. We were very lucky, I suppose. We got people in to direct with us as well. So we Pat Kinnavan, he came in and did Dark of the Moon with us, and we did Bog of Cats, and Ina May came and did The Hostage with us. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot going on at home, if you like. And there was a group of us that got very fortunately to do the Fishamble mentorship program through the Pavilion in Dunleary. So there was a group of us that did from a lot of Dublin groups. It wasn't just Dorky. And there was a writing group that did work with Gavin Kostnik, and then we got to do directing with Jim Cullerton. So I mean, that was such a treat, you know, of a Saturday morning, and you're heading down to the Pavilion and getting a masterclass in directing, you know.
Work with Jim Cullerton for the day.
Yeah.
It'd blow anyone's socks off. So then we had Jane Eyre. I still remember it. I still get random memories of that play.
Really? Oh gosh.
Yeah. There's so many magic moments in it and scenes in it, and you know, when I think of, maybe I seen an English company do it on a professional tour. Mm-hmm. There's a company that comes to Ireland every year to do Jane Eyre, all that sort of stuff, and I had seen that, and then I seen your version, and I went, wow, what a difference. You know, it was absolutely fantastic, and very courageous for one to go back on the circuit with, like, you know, you didn't lack any bravery or anything to bring that back on the circuit. But
I don't think I even thought of that, Paddy, to be honest with you. Because that would stop me doing stuff, you know. No, I found 3 lines. I was looking for a play to do on the circuit, and I found 3 lines, and it was dialogue between Jane and Bertha.
Mhm.
And there was obviously something different about it. It had that psychological thing going on, that pull, push, pull. I thought, oh, what's that? And it took me about 2 weeks or so to find the play. And then we did it at home, and we turned it around in a really ridiculous time frame. I think it was 7 weeks rehearsal.
Man.
And I mean, it was quite different. I had a lighting, a painting scaffolding as the set, and people were hanging out of that. So then there was an opportunity, I suppose, to do it again, and we took it out on the circuit. And yeah, I mean, I love the book anyway. I love the book, but then to get to do it as a play was phenomenal. And then, the best cast and crew to work with. And we were really surprised by the reaction we got on the circuit. I was kind of preparing everybody for smaller audiences and be ready for an empty space. And then sure, we were blown away by what happened.
And then to get to Athlone and to the finals, and then to be second, but a massive achievement for a group that hadn't been out for a number of years. It was fantastic. You came across then the fantastic
Dead Man's
and Telephone for 2017.
That
was another big undertaking.
That was the play I bought because I like the title. I'm always looking on. I'm going down rabbit holes. I'm not a great sleeper, so I tend to kind of do my work on plays during the middle of the night. And I was searching away, and probably about 15 years ago, I found that play, and I thought, oh, that's something special. And it sat on my bookcase for a long time. And I remember, I don't know if you'd be familiar with Shay Lenihan. He was part of our group, and he's sadly no longer with us, but he was a wonderful playwright in his own right, and had huge success with different productions. But I gave it to him, and he read it, and he came back to me and said, yeah, there's something really magical about that play. So just the right time, right people, right space, and off we went. And it wasn't working. We did it, we were rehearsing, and about 3 weeks before we went on the circuit, there was a problem. I had come up with the set design of the tables being everything for every set, for every location, and them being on wheels, and we'd had to reinforce them so people could sit on them, but consequently then they were ridiculously heavy. And it's quite an episodic play anyway, and the poor actors, they were trying to lug tables and move tables and keep the pace, and anyway, it just wasn't working. And I remember coming home feeling quite dejected. It was like, what am I going to do? It's not anybody's fault. It's what I'm doing or what I'm not doing that's not working. And my little fella was into Ninja Turtles at the time. And sure, in the middle of the night, I was texting people saying, what do you think about Stage Ninja? So literally 3 weeks before we went on the circuit, my 3 ninja started workshopping, and we ran a kind of a parallel play with what we were doing in the play, and then merged them together, and it just found itself then. The
ninjas were fantastic. It just brought a whole different level to the performance.
We had a lot of giggles putting those. So it was Emma Mulligan, who's like my right hand person, and Siobhan Cassidy, both in stage management. But Emma and Sarah Coughlin and Dermot Byrne were the ninjas, and there's just a lot of giggles while we were working out what was going to happen.
Well, what a physical, I suppose, performance from them. That
absolutely. I mean, but it kind of took off.
Everything was amazing.
Yeah.
Really, really good. So at Athlone 2017, and it went amazingly well on the night in the finals.
Yeah, it was one of those funny days. The way normally something goes wrong and you're trying to fix it. And we were down there, and it didn't matter. We still talk about it, actually. It didn't matter what we were doing. It was like, there's nothing going wrong. And then you're thinking, oh God, now is this all going to happen at 8 o'clock? And I think Barry spotted a bulb sort of at about 7:30 that just needed a quick change. That was the only thing. It was like there was this push, and then sure, the reception was just electric. It was just, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. I remember each kind of moment of that day in detail. And just from the get-go, it was very calm. It was very calm, and just one of those magical days.
Meant to be.
Yeah.
It went down at a treat, and then of course on awards night you were named #1. What did that mean to, I suppose to yourself and to a group like Docky, who had been hunting for years, you know, even with One Axe and all that? And I suppose going back then to maybe the earlier members like Margaret Dunn and all the people, it must have meant a huge amount.
Oh yeah, it did. And I mean, it's a culmination of years, isn't it? You know, you're relying on people who have huge experience and expertise to do this with you. And I'm very spoilt with who I get to work with. I mean, you know, the way Barry can light a show, and you know, the actors that I have, and Emma and Siobhan is back up, and then Mary Rigney, who's been in the group. I mean, she'll kill me now if I get it wrong, but I mean, you're talking, I'm going to say over 25 years. I know it's a lot more than that, but I don't want to upset her.
Yeah.
She's been doing costumes forever, and you know, I'll throw something at her, and the next minute it comes back, and it's exactly what I had asked for, you know. Yeah. So I suppose that night, it was a culmination. It was of a lot of years of work from a lot of people, but it was very, very magical, and yeah, a bit kind of mind-blowing in a way, actually. Yeah, we didn't expect it.
To bring the trophy back to Docky, to your hometown, that's amazing too.
Yeah. Docky had won the GAA that year as well. Yeah. So there was, you know, it was just great for Docky. It was just really good. Yeah.
Fantastic. So 2018, you took a year out. You done a home production. Well, you didn't take a year out. You didn't go on the circuit, but you done a big production at home.
We did. Excuse me for a sec.
All right, no problem.
I'm not used to talking.
You done the cripple, did you know?
We did the cripple, and we did the Beauty Queen of Lannan, and we did Grim Tales. So there was, I mean, busy.
Yeah.
Lovely productions, great support from the community, and I suppose we have a patronage sort of as well. So we really try and make sure that we have something going on in the town hall.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a year out of the circle was probably a welcome rest too at that stage, you know, after two very hectic years of 16 and 17 and winning in All Ireland and all that sort of stuff. 18 was a welcome year out for you. But the grass didn't grow too long. You were back again with Mill on the Floss.
Mill on the Floss, yeah. So
another very different play. And,
I suppose. I mean, I'm seem to be kind of naturally drawn to plays I haven't seen.
Yeah,
and I like doing plays that have new writing as well. Yeah. Obviously, there's a wealth of plays that, I mean, I've done the John B. Keanes, I've done Sive, I've done Sharon's Grave, I've done some Oscar Wildes. You know, there's obviously, you know, huge amount of wonderful writing, but I seem to be naturally drawn to these stories that there's a bit of theatricality in them, and you can kind of push the boundaries a little bit as well. And that was a big play to take on, and probably, you know, as you do, you learn as you do these things, and probably a little bit long, you know, a little bit of a false ending, trying to work with that, trying to make that work right. But it was just, the wind has to blow the right way too when you're on the circuit. And we had a few moments of hiccups as you do. And I mean, I think what the cast and crew did with it was phenomenal, but it just wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't meant to be. So 2020, you're back at Sarah Rule again.
Yeah.
And the excitement, you had done a few shows.
We were lucky, we got a couple of shows, and I know there was groups that didn't get anything. So we were on Mount Mellick that day when Leo did his announcement.
Big speech,
And we had just come from Roscommon at the weekend, and we met on the Tuesday. And I remember we were, because we'd done it in Dalkey, and I remember us talking in the wings that it was at the time, it was the kids coming back from Italy, and it seemed almost quite far removed.
Yeah.
And quite a lot of us would have kids in school, and it was kind of like, oh, and suddenly between the Tuesday to the Thursday, the whole dynamic had shifted and changed. And Alan Newsom collected me in the van, and it was about 6:30 in the morning, and he said, I feel like I'm going to war. It did feel like that. It was very odd. Yeah. And sure, then the announcement came. But I was saying to you earlier, I heard less than 100 people. I had no idea. I was like, okay, that's fine. Do 99. That's fine. But it was yourself, when you've been working on a play, you've maybe been working on it for 9-10 months before you get to take it out. And that day, it just put things into perspective, I suppose, a little bit. We were in Mount Mellick. They've done a massive refurb of this fabulous venue, and they didn't get to finish their festival. Hopefully that will be, something that's this moment in time, and going forward, we'll get back into that. Yeah. But, I remember, looking around, I couldn't get my kids or my husband on the phone. The phones had dropped, and people had elderly parents, and people lost their livelihoods that day. Yeah. Put it into perspective, really. But I hung up my shoes for a little while after that. Now, I didn't do anything for a little while, because it just, it was all just stopped, obviously. But we actually put it on the stage that day. I don't know how we did, but we got it rigged and ready to go for 4:30, and we finished at 5 to 6. Wow. And at the time it was weird, but it was good to do, because it did give us a bit of closure. Yeah. And we played to the festival committee, and that was it. Yeah,
that was it. It's mad to think we're a year on and we're still in lockdown, and still having these lockdown conversations. If anything good came out of lockdown, I suppose the lockdown conversations did. But yeah, you haven't been idle. You have been busy in Dalkey.
We have been busy. I suppose, as I said before, there's a really, really active writing group. Mm-hmm. And so they were working away while we were out on the circuit. And so when the circuit stopped, that just continued, and it developed then into these 8 plays that we've put together. So there's some that are rights-based, and then there's 2 that are rights-based, and 6 originals. And we're launching them on the 6th of April. So we've a festival, we're calling it Connect and Create. So we've connected together to create these. And we've had a lot of challenges along the way, figuring out how on earth do you do this? How do you record without picking up buses? I live on a main road, and every time I recorded anything, you could just hear a bus going past, So anyway, we got really good advice. We did a kind of a series of 5 workshops we had planned to film them before Christmas in the mill.
Yeah.
And then the restrictions changed. Mm-hmm. So then we moved to an audio format, and we were recording under our duvets and in the boots of our cars. And we have something.
Yeah, great. So when is this coming up, or when
can I
I
can say that it's on Eventbrite, and I can plug it away. It's on through our website, dalkeyplayers.ie. And small donation of €1 or more will get you a password, and you can have access then to the 8 plays over the week-long period.
Wow.
Yeah,
fantastic idea, and good luck with that. I've talked to loads of people that have been on over the last, I suppose, 18 conversations, but is there a few moments in theatre that give you the wow factor that really makes it worthwhile why we do this and why we're involved in live theatre and all that? Whether professional or amateur over the years that you've seen. Have you got a couple of them?
Yeah, I suppose I always just love going to see theatre. It's just you just don't know what's going to happen. When sort of in the the early 2000s, I was involved quite a bit with the Olivians, and we did a lot of visits to Andrews Lane, and that's kind of where we certainly when I was going out with my husband originally, that's where we did our kind of scene, if you like. So Robert Lepage did a play in the Theatre Festival in 2003, and it was called The Far Side of the Moon, and it just opened my mind. It was one of those plays, he's hugely theatrical, and he plays with your perspective on things.
Okay.
And there was puppets, and it was one-man show. But I remember he used mirrors, and he had a mirror on a kind of a winch that adjusted the ceiling height depending on one minute it was a washing machine, another minute it was something else. It was a porthole of a space rocket. It's all about the space race and these two brothers. But he was lying on the floor of the stage, moving as an astronaut. But I mean, effectively he was lying on the stage, but because it was reflected in this mirror, it was magical. You just believed he was walking in space. So that just, I suppose, that just opened up this whole theatricality, storytelling piece that I love. I love finding those moments in plays that we're working on. And you kind of have this idea, and it's a bit complicated, and you're kind of like, how can we do this? And so it's exploring how we do that. You know, I love that aspect of things. And
we've seen that in a lot of your productions, especially the ones that have been on the circuit. You're a member of the DLI board.
I am. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Busy weekend coming up for you.
We do. We have the AGM. So anybody who would like to join in on the AGM, if they drop Eugene O'Sullivan an email at me.com, and he'll send on the Zoom link. As yourself with the ADCI, I suppose the DLI is so important as a structure for us in the drama community. Yeah. And you know, I'm very honoured to be part of the board. Membership is obviously, you know, hugely important at this time because there's no funds being generated from licensing fees. So any group that's in a position to give their membership would be, you know, it's greatly appreciated, I suppose, because it enables the structures to keep going. So when we come out the other side, we have something there. And obviously the summer school, hopefully. I know there's a plan B, but at the moment, it's planned for Limerick, and I suppose obviously it'll just depend on what happens with the numbers and the restrictions and stuff. But I mean, at the moment, it's good to go. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Just give us your website there again for the Connect and Create Festival.
Thanks, Paddy. www.dokeyplayers.ie. Okay. And you can search it up on Eventbrite as well.
Great stuff. Emma Jane, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on Lockdown Conversation.
Paddy.
Thank you so much for coming on with us. And I hope Connect and Create goes great for you. I know I'll be logging on anyway to have a listen. Okay, folks, that's it for this week on Lockdown Conversations. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Just to remind you again, the great work that's going on down there in Clare Drama Festival, Tom Hanley and all his people there in the Scariff Bay Radio Play Competition. It's on again this weekend, folks. Tune in. I think we've Saturday and Sunday night, and then following Saturday and Sunday, and that wraps it up on Easter Sunday. And we will have the awards and the final adjudication from Paul Brennan, ADA, there as well. So don't forget to tune in to Tom and the Scariff Bay Radio Play Competition this weekend. Okay, folks, next week, and unfortunately, next week is our last week of the Lockdown Conversations. We're kind of finishing them up with the time that the circuit would end, and that usually finishes around the weekend before Easter. So next week, the 1st of April, is our last of our Lockdown Conversations, and we have fellow Cavan man and very good friend of mine, actor, writer, director, adjudicator, and all-around tip-top man, Pádraig McIntyre, is on with us next weekend for our last chat in the Lockdown Conversations. Okay, folks, that's us for tonight. That was Emma Jane Nulty from Dokey Players. I'm Paddy Farley. Thank you for joining us in Lockdown Conversations, and we'll see you all next week.